understand we have over 100 leaders from the energy sector in the room with us today, and it is indeed an exciting announcement, and I know you've done incredible work on it. Very pleased to be here not only with our Minister of Energy, Brian Jean, but also our Minister of Indigenous Relations, Rajan Sani, who has been making tons of phone calls in the last couple of days in ensuring that everyone knew who might be impacted by this, what our intentions were, as well as Alex Porbay, Executive Chair of Cenovus Energy and one of our leading companies in the oil sands operations in Alberta. We also have representatives from the energy sector, pipeline companies, and Indigenous communities. And we've come together here today because Canada stands at a critical crossroads. Beneath our feet here in Alberta, we stand on oil reserves valued at over $9 trillion. This resource wealth presents Canada and Canadians with boundless opportunities. This wealth would equate to hundreds of billions of dollars in government revenue that could be used to support core social programs like healthcare and education, bolster Canada's national security commitments under NATO, and unlock economic prosperity for Indigenous peoples. Not only would it allow for governments at all levels across the country to fund social programs, it would generate job creation and wealth for Canadians and Albertans on a scale rarely seen in recent decades. This type of transformational wealth cannot be kept in the ground, and Canadians agree. Over the past 6 months, it has become clear that Canadians nationwide see the tremendous opportunity that we have to unleash the economic potential of our energy sector. In fact, recent polling has shown that 3/4 of Canadians support building a new oil pipeline. Additionally, the global demand for oil is increasing, and the world wants more Canadian oil and gas. We've heard this from Asia, in Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, and Indonesia, to name a few. We've heard this from Europe, and we know that we need to deliver on global energy security efforts. There are billions of people around the world living in energy poverty who demand a higher standard of living. This is not just a question of Alberta's energy, it is a global moral imperative. What stands before us right now is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to unlock our wealth of resources and become a world-leading energy superpower, creating lasting prosperity for generations to come. But to realize this potential, the federal government must make meaningful and substantive reforms to Canada's regulatory environment to revive investor certainty. The simple fact is that you will not see companies sink billions of dollars into new major projects unless the federal government overturns or overhauls its Trudeau-era anti-resource development policies. And that includes the oil and gas emissions cap, which we know is a production cap, Bill C-69, the No More Pipelines law, and the tanker ban, which have made investment in new oil and gas projects extremely difficult. And this is what we've heard from industry and potential investors. They will not invest in a new pipeline with these bad laws and regulations in place. You can't build a pipeline to the Northwest Coast and still have a tanker ban. You cannot have an emissions cap that is so aggressive that companies would have to shut in operations in order to achieve it. And you can't have enthusiasm to export natural gas and win the AI data war and then have punitive policies against using natural gas on Alberta's electricity grid. Now, I've made this case abundantly clear to the Prime Minister, and what I can tell you is this, that I am more optimistic now than I have ever been over that the concerns of Albertans are finally being heard. While we still have details to work out, I do look forward to reaching an agreement that will profoundly benefit Alberta and Canada's economies. Major investment is what grows our economy, creates jobs, prosperity, and enhances our standard of living. And without question, a new oil pipeline to the Northwest BC coast would have the greatest economic benefit of any new nation-building project. For example, had we completed the Northern Gateway project, the Energy East project, and the Keystone XL pipeline project, Canada's GDP today would be $55 billion stronger each and every year. We cannot let another opportunity of this economic magnitude pass us by again. And that's why we are announcing that the Government of Alberta will be the proponent of an oil pipeline to the Northwest BC coast, with the support and technical advice of 3 major pipeline companies, including Southbow, Enbridge, and Trans Mountain. Our government will make a formal application to the Federal Project Office under the Building Canada Act. Today, we are beginning the engagement process with Indigenous groups across Alberta and British Columbia to ensure that they can be part of this nation-building effort. That conversation must begin with Indigenous engagement, not as a checkbox, but as a foundation for relationship building, trust, and shared leadership. This will lay the groundwork for full and thorough consultation as this project meets regulatory milestones. To be clear, though, this is about more than just fulfilling a legal duty to consult. It's about working together from the beginning to ensure that we get it right this time, informed by Indigenous perspectives and experiences. We also want to have Indigenous partners at the table as owners to participate not only as holders of territory, but as co-owners of a project and an asset that will provide wealth for First Nations for generations. Our Indigenous Relations team, led by Minister Rajan Sawhney, will develop and lead an engagement plan in collaboration with First Nations across both provinces. You'll hear more details about this from the Minister shortly. And to get this nation-building pipeline project underway, Alberta's government is committing $14 million to the technical design and detailed application design. To be clear, Alberta taxpayers will not be on the hook to build this pipeline. But this initial investment is crucial to get this important work underway, and we cannot let billions in investment and future revenues continue to flee our nation. We have worked closely with our pipeline companies to chart a path forward so that we can provide a detailed plan to be approved by the federal government. This work will be guided by an expert advisory committee with a dedicated full-time project management team that includes the top pipeline experts in North America. And it is my hope, with Alberta as the proponent, that we will see this pipeline project on the next list of nation-building projects announced by the federal government come Grey Cup in November. With today's announcement, Alberta is prepared to answer the call to support global energy security efforts while creating lasting prosperity for Albertans and Canadians for generations to come.